Here we will start with IVC. What is IVC and what is the time span? First time in Indian subcontinent you will find the birth of a civilization which is nicknamed as Indus Valley. Although initially it was named as HC. What is HC? When it was discovered, first time it was named as HC because there is a practice in archaeology. Whichever site is discovered first, it got the same name. It was discovered around 1920. First site was Harappa. At that time, the Director General of ASI, what is ASI? Archaeological Survey of India. The DG was John Marshall. And just we have discussed archaeology, there is a tradition. Whichever site is discovered first, civilization should get the same name. It was named as HC. But soon they found that other sites were also discovered, and majority of them were located beside Indus or subsidiaries of Indus. As the name was modified in 22 onward, and finally this name is still going on. But again, some historians have claimed again we should make some changes. Why? Because some of the sites have been found beyond Indus Valley also. Some sites we have excavated in Afghanistan, some sites in UP, some sites in Maharashtra. But these sites are not beside Indus Valley. Today a new debate has arrived that whether names should be changed or not. First try to note this point. Because this is the first civilization which is an eye-opener not only for Indians. It is an eye-opener for the world, academicians of the world, and the discovery is going in which phase? 1920. And just try to understand what is going in 1920 in India. Gandhi is emerging as a superhero of Indian politics, charisma of Indian politics. India is witnessing NCM. What is NCM? It is India is witnessing the first mass movement. Superhero is Gandhi. It means patriotism, nationalism is taking birth. Simultaneously, archaeology is discovering that India was a godfather in the world in the field of urbanization. It means it is a blessing for the Indians that when we were witnessing the nationalism, rise of nationalist forces, national movement, parallel to it, our ASI was discovering the birth of a great civilization. Automatically, you can say a question can be asked by UPSC. Achha, just please, before moving to the topic, just listen for 5 minutes. My class notes is with the management. So you can have a Xerox copy of it. The whole, it is not only ancient medieval culture, it is having every topic, excluding world history. It means the whole modern, the whole culture part is with the management. You can have a Xerox of it. And simply today I can assure you by words only, but you can verify the truth with the papers. In the pre we have around 20 questions. All the questions ranges is this. The whole questions significance of history is that around 18 to 20 questions are coming from the whole history, culture plus modern. And the contribution of culture is around 10 to 11. It means modern is having a share of 8 and 9 questions, right? You can say roughly 10 questions. So from the class note itself, you can have at least around 15 questions. You can see the papers. It is with the management for the last 3 years. So it has been written in a multi-spectrum way. You will enjoy it and you will have a confidence in history. So here, just try to, we will follow the lecture approach. If you want to write something, you can write it. It is up to you. So the method will be not dictation. It is lecture approach because what is going on the board is more important than what you are writing. In this method, you become more active, and dictation you become passive. So everything is with the management. There is no problem. So here we are discussing the first point, that importance of discovery. Because UPSC never asks bookish questions, they ask questions which are having some meaning, which are exposing something. So a short note can be asked, what is the importance of discovery of IVC in Indian society? So here we can explain this point only into 3 paragraphs. First, you may be aware of the point. First, let me know where the Indus River take birth. Indus River passes through how many Indian states today? Indus River passes through how many Indian states? 1, 2, 3, 4 बताइए. एक तो कोई सही हो ही जाएगा ना. वन ऑप्शन में भी करेक्ट बताइए भाई, किसी का सही होगा ना. दिस रिवर passes through how many Indian states? It is 1, 2, 3, 4. Today it is only one state, Kashmir. Because today Pakistan is not a part of India. So Indus River took birth near Mansarovar Lake in Tibet. It passes through Kashmir and finally enters to Pakistan and merges into Arabian Sea. So it passes through only one Indian state. And the 5 rivers of Punjab, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Vyas, Satluj, they all merges themselves with Indus. It means they are tributaries of Indus. It means the main river is Indus. That is why it got the name Indus Valley Civilization. It is taking birth near Mansarovar Lake, and it is a coincidence that 2 more rivers are also taking birth at the same location. Can you name them? One is Satluj, other is Brahmaputra. It will move in this direction, and Satluj will pass through only 2 Indian states. One is Himachal Pradesh, then Punjab. Himachal Pradesh में enter करेगी, and then Punjab, and then will merge into Indus. So you are getting the point. Means it is called as Indus Valley Civilization. So first point of discovery, the importance of discovery is that before just try to know that once British won India in the mid of 18th century, because Battle of Plassey is going in mid of 18th century. It means mid of 18th century is a turning point because the white man English company became the master of India, first Bengal, then India. And English company, it is really very shocking. Till now, India mein invasions were made by the kings. But here it is a turning point. A company is invading India. Company name is. And again, the interesting point is that this company has invaded India not to govern. It is not only drain of wealth. This is a unique invasion in the history of India. Till now, whatever invasion we have witnessed in ancient medieval India, the intention of the invader was to govern. Muhammad Ghori and Babar, whatever invaders, Greek Shakas, Palavas in ancient India, whatever invaders, it means just try to understand this basic fundamental of polity, Indian polity. Whatever invaders came in India in ancient medieval India, their intention was to govern India. Their intention was to govern India. But the intention of this white man is not to govern. उसका नाम ही company है. It means its intention was to monopolize the Indian trade and commerce. In short, we can say India was made a colony, not province. You know what is colony? While in ancient medieval India, India was not a colony. India was a province of the invader. India became the permanent seat of the invader. चाहे मोहम्मद घोरी हो, चाहे बाबर हो, ancient India में जितने whatever invaders we have, they are. It means in short we can say they are coming to govern India. But this white man was a smart and a decent robber. His intention is not to govern. He wants wealth of India, and he claimed India is a colony. And you go and see the meaning of colony. This word has evolved from the word called colonus. And colonus means economic generation unit. India is not a province of British Empire. We say India is a colony of British Empire. Colony means arrived from colonus. Colonus means economic generation unit. It means you should know the typology of invaders. Only then you can understand history. It means white man was smart in the sense he is governing India, no doubt. But his real intention is not to govern. Governing was simply a medium to appropriate his economic interest. That is the first time. Automatically, if it is a colony, what will happen in India? So once British captured India, they became the master of India. Now they are trying to justify their rule. Justify means they are claiming that West is highly urbanized, highly civilized, East is barbaric. So they try to justify their rule on the grounds that the Western people are in coaching here simply to make Asia civilized. Even the books were written on the same theme. You may have heard a book which is called as The March of Civilizations Toward the East. The March of Civilization towards East. And you know the word civilization, what it means? It means the East is barbaric, uncivilized people are living. The white man is governing you because he wants to civilize you. And the theme of the title of the book is March of Civilization Toward the East. In short, we can say Britishers were smart rulers. They are trying to justify the Indians that the purpose is to civilize the Asia, India, whatever it is. It means, in short, we can say that they had given a bad name to Indian history. They had claimed that India is a land of barbaric people. India is a land of invaders. India has no history of its own. It is a land of snake charmers. It means they had made our mind pessimist so that we cannot challenge their rule. It means Britishers had painted India in a bad picture. But see now what will happen. In 1920, the ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, had discovered, it is 1920s, around 20 it is Harappa and 20s may other sites. It means this decade is a turning point. In 20s, India, this ASI discovered the remains of such a civilization which is an eye-opener for the academicians, not of only West, academicians of the world. So this discovery was important. The first point is that this discovery was an eye-opener for the thinkers, academicians of the Western world. Whatever theories which has been given by the academicians regarding India has now all been disproved because the truth was in front of them. India was having such a developed civilization which has no parallel in the world history. It means whatever theories which has been given by these Western people, that India is a land of snake charmers, it is a land of uncivilized people. And finally in 20s, now they were shocked to know the country which they were claiming is a land of snake charmers, uncivilized people, was having such a civilization in that phase. What is the period of IBC? This is, it means how many thousand years from now? It is around 4,500 years. 4,500 years, or round figures, you can also say 5,000 years back. It means roughly in the round figures we can say around, it means the discovery is important in the sense now the Western academicians, thinkers came to know the glory of India's past because they had painted India in a very bad picture. And now everything is proved that India was a land of high profile civilized people. And how many years back? Around 5,000 years back, when the Europe was uncivilized, India was high profile civilized. It means it is an eye opener. It disproved all the theories given by the Western scholars that India is a land of barbaric people. It means 1920s discovery is important. The first point is that it had disproved all theories given by the Western scholars that India is a land of barbaric people. This theory is disproved because now the discovery of IBC had realized them that India witnessed birth of such a civilization which has no parallel in the world history. It means that theory got disproved. This theory that India was a land of uncivilized people. So first importance is that theory got disproved. And the second importance is because in 1920s we are witnessing national movement. It means first time in the newspapers the articles may be appearing that India was having this and this. That means contemporary Indians, those who are educated Indians, they may witness. It means the spirit of patriotism, the forces of patriotism will gain more strength. Because it is a human nature. Once you know the glory of your past, your patriotism becomes more strong. Your nationalism becomes more strong. The second importance is that it had strengthened It had strengthened the patriotism and nationalist forces. Patriotism and nationalism. Because once you know about that, you were so smart in that period, automatically you develop some feeling of patriotism. And it was a need of time also, because 1920 is going on and Gandhi is leading a national movement. At the same time, discovery is made. It means importance is, second importance is, it had strengthened what? Forces of patriotism, nationalism. This is the second importance. We can correlate this point with the NCM of Gandhi. And the third importance is, just try to understand the third importance. It means discovery is going in 1920. It means we can clearly say, prior to 1920, our proto-history was started from the Vedic people, the Aryan people, and we call it VP, Vedic period, we can say like this. VP means Vedic period, AP means Aryan period, whatever you can call. And the Aryans are arriving in India in which phase? That means entry of Aryans is around 1500 BC, and the birth of IVC is, it means IVC, birth of IVC is around 1000 years back from BP. Birth of IVC, means birth of Indus people, is around 1000 years older than the entry of Aryans in India. The third importance is that our proto-history became more enriched and more old, you can say. It became 1000 years more old. Earlier textbooks, it means whatever textbooks of history there may be prior to 1920, the proto-history may be starting from BP. It means the students who may be going through having knowledge, who are going to the studying history, they may be studying Indian history, proto-history from VP, means Vedic period. But after 20s, our proto-history will start from here. And it means our proto-history became more enriched and more old by 1000 years. And what is proto-history? Just try to understand this term also, proto-history. Are you having any knowledge about what do you mean by proto-history? So just please have, the historians have divided the history of India into three phases basically. The first phase they called as a prehistory, when man was living hunting and food gathering life. It means Stone Age life, whatever you can say. So it is a classification made by historians. So when man was living 100% barbaric life, hunting and gathering, only stone tool, only stone, no metal, they called it as a prehistoric period. Man was not aware of writing and neither writing and script, no literature is there. When no writing is there, it means no history is there. So that is why they call it as a pre. Although history is there, they use the term prehistory, because historically you should know the art of writing. And the second phase is the birth of writing, or birth of script, you can say, language you can say. Birth of script is called as proto-history. It means when there is no script, man is living barbaric life. Our historians say this period is a prehistoric period. Although anthropologists say it is a Stone Age period. It depends upon the typology. Anthropologists, those who study man as an individual. Historians study man not as an individual, as a member of society. It is only difference in their orientation. Anthropologists study the evolution of man. It means man is the subject. Here historians study man as a member of society. So anthropologists call this as a Stone Age. Historians call it as a prehistoric stage. It means writing is absent, language is absent. Language has been taken birth, script has taken birth. but it is undeciphered, means you cannot study it. Undeciphered. It means if a script is there, but you cannot know it, that period is called as proto. And if you look into the background of Indian history, the proto means script is there, but it cannot be studied. In this proto history, we have only two periods. One is IBC, other is VP. Because Aryans were aware of writing, they were having some script. But the point is that we have not obtained their literature in writing. Because whatever they were composing, it was going verbally. IVP people were writing, but we have not deciphered till now what they are writing. So proto means the script is there, but it cannot be studied. So this is a classification made by historians. So in case of Indian history, only two periods will come under VP. Proto history. One is IBC, other is VP. Classification is based on the basics that language should be there, but it should not be deciphered. Aryans, no doubt they were aware of writing, but they had not, the remains have not been found. It means everything was going verbally. And the last is called a historical period. Historical period. So this is a classification made by historians. Prehistory means no language, no script. Proto means language is there, but it cannot be studied. Third is script is there, you can study it. It means historical period we start with from this period onwards. Whatever writings we are having, we can study it, we can understand it. So 6th century BC onward is called as historical period. You can study and you can know what they are writing. This is a classification. So it means we use the word proto-history for IBC and VP people. But when IBC was not discovered, our proto-history was starting from. But once this got discovered, now our proto-history became more enriched and more old. Earlier it was starting from, it became 1000 years more old. So suppose a short note is asked, just expose these three features that this discovery was really a turning point in the history of India. In the conclusion, you can just justify the importance. The first importance was that it had disproved all the theories given by the Western scholars. Second importance is that it has strengthened the patriotism, nationalism. Third importance is that it had enriched our proto-history. And finally, conclusion, we can say, it was a turning point in the history of not only in India, it was a turning point in the history of world. It means it became a heritage of the world, basically. It became the turning point in the history of world because it does not find, it means IBC, it does not find any parallel in the world history. No doubt we were having contemporary civilization like Egypt, Mesopotamia. But if you compare the attributes, you will find they are incomparable. In the conclusion, you can say it is a turning point in the history of the world because first time the mankind of the world came to know what was India at that time when Europe was living in the barbaric phase. It is over. Conclusion. Importance. This is importance. And here we are discussing urban features. We are using the word urban features. It means something extraordinary you will witness here. This civilization is also called as, historians have also called as, is calling as, it is the first phase of urbanization. This statement is given by historians that IBC corresponds to what? It is the first phase India witnessing urbanization. So this phase is nicknamed as first phase of urbanization in Indian subcontinent. So how you can justify it? So we have evidence, archaeological evidences to prove it. Urban features में the first is town planning. Just like today, towns are made by authorities. We have development authorities, Hyderabad Development Authority, Delhi Development Authorities. You cannot make your houses without approving the map by the authorities. It means first we are discussing the uniqueness of town planning. So here some key points are required to explain this town planning. Every town was having uniformity. Every town was having uniformity. It is a feature of urban society. Every town. It means some development authority may be there. Its name may be something like, name is unknown. Just like today, every city is having the same planning. Because today we are having urban ministries, department are there. They control the towns, how the town should be made, what should be the base of the town. Why all Indus cities are having uniformity? It means some controlling agency is there. So first characteristic is that we find uniformity in town planning, which proves that some development controlling agency may be there. Second feature is that, in the same point please, explanation of the same point, every city was having two areas, VIP areas and common man areas. Just like today, today in cities we find commissioner of police, bureaucrats, they are allotted different quarters, and common men are living in different, because VIP means ruling class. A ruling class and the common class should be separated. It is a feature of urban stratification. Every city you will find the cities having two types of habitations, VIP habitation, non-VIP habitation, just like today. And what in west western zone was occupied by the VIPs, understood hai. Eastern zone was meant for the common man. In Indus cities you will find large houses, large residential spaces on the western side. Eastern side you find small housing establishments. Historians came to the conclusion, it means classification may be based on some VIPs and non-VIPs, just like today. Again, the point is that, interesting point is that city is expanding in this direction. City was expanding in this direction, that is east and west. Probably they may be utilizing the energy of sun to a maximum time. City is not expanding in north and south. It is not expanding in this direction. City is expanded in east and west. Probably our Indus people wanted to use maximum light energy of the sun. The city expanded in east. It means it is urban logic. They are applying scientific principles. In the same point, we can, because it is very difficult to write the answers in 130 words. Just try to understand for 5 minutes basically. Because in this exam, the writing skill is a key. Is a key of success. UPSC is asking 20 questions. You can imagine in the mains. I am talking about mains basically. GS mains. Because history comes at the GS first paper, and number of questions are 20. Although first time when the format was changed in 2013, you will be astonished to know that questions were 25. And different youth organizations had challenge demonstrations went in Delhi, and from 14 onwards, because it became very difficult, now the number of questions had become 20, and just you can see what time it requires, and you have to answer the paper in 180 minutes. उसमें 10 मिनट तो आप भगवान के निकाल दीजिए, because first 10 minutes we don't write the answers, we just pray to the God. It means वो आपके पास 170 minutes बच रहा है. It means each answers you have to write in 7 to 8 minutes, and the word limit is 150. You can just think over this point. So the key of success is you should develop the art of writing. We know many points. We know enough, but how we can write it? It is a human psychology that we write the first four answers in a very cool way. When you write the four answers, because we think that this time I had to top this UPSC. So first four answers we write first four answers in 2 hours. And finally, when the warning bell is there at 1 hour, it says, then your shooting starts. And then your writing becomes like this. It's suppose that a same paper has been written by number of aspirants. So just develop this art. In general studies paper, don't try to write your answer in a formal way. Because this exam is not a formal exam. To develop a tendency to present your answer in chart or some flow charts or bullet points. Otherwise, you cannot complete the paper. It is next to impossible. 20 questions, you can imagine. And it means, and the word limit is 150 means you should reduce by 130. Because UPSC is claiming it is a word limit. Why you are reaching toward the limit? Just reduce the words by 20 words. And how you can make it possible? Simply by drawing the charts or by simply applying commas, not try to express your answer in a formal statement point. Because the purpose is communication should be there. This is the point. And every answer is having 10 marks. Let me just try to get 5 marks. Don't try to think that don't behave as a historian. Problem appears when you behave as a historian. But don't be panic about it. Just try to give the 4 points, it is more than sufficient. For example, town planning, you can reduce your word simply by applying the commas. Not need to make a formal statement. So here we have discussed that the cities were expanding in the east-west direction. Probably Indus people were smart, they want to use the light of energy to the maximum time. In the same point, we can just say roads were built on right angles. Roads used to cut on right angles. Just like today, roads used to cut each other on right angles. It means knowledge of geometry is there. And burned bricks were used. Burned bricks. It is not sun-dried bricks. Burned bricks were used in making the road. Again, the interesting point is that on the roads, remains of lightning pillars. You know what is lightning pillars? Just like today we have lamp post, which is burned by the municipal bodies. So in the Indus cities, on the roads we have found, our archaeologists have found the remains of lightning pillars, which proves that the people may be moving in the night also. And if you are moving in the night, it corresponds that you are urban people. The remains of lightning pillars prove that the state may be aware about the security of the travelers. The state may be caring about the travelers. That is why these lightning pillars may be there. Because they are aware oil is there and cotton is there. It means solution is there. Indus people were growing mustard. It means oil is there. Cotton is there. You are getting the point. It means this is an urban feature. Movement is going in the night. Next feature, the same point. The eastern and the western zone. You know, eastern zone is inhabited by the common people and the western zone is inhabited by the VIP people. And since VIP people require some special treatment, since all cities are taking birth beside the rivers, still today, government of India and state are facing problem of the flood. It means since cities are taking birth beside the rivers, it means they may be also having problem of floods. You will be astonished to know the eastern and the western residential quarters, habitations were built on a raised mound. It means whatever habitations they are making, they are based on hilltop, mound you can say, M-O-U-N-D. Raised mound on both the sides, raised mounds. But the height of the mound on the western side will be higher or lower? More higher than the east. Because common man are living in the eastern side, the height of the mound is less. VIPs are living on the western side. So the height of the mound is much larger. Again, this western mound is fortified because VIPs are living. Fortified. It is unfortified because common man is living. It means they are having the index that VIPs should be given some special treatment, you can say like this. And the most interesting point, second point is, this is most eye-catching point of Indus people. Highly advanced, you can say scientific, most scientific water drainage system. This point is really shocking to the historians. Highly advanced, yeah, most scientific water drainage system. Drainage. It resembles that of today. आपको मालूम है, you may be aware that today, you know, what is drainage system? The polluted water of the houses enter into the public drain, and public drain empties into the rivers. The same logic was here. It means every house, the water which is drained from the house, polluted water, it is entering into the public drain, and the public drain was having circular apertures. Just like today, you know, on the roads you find some manholes, which is cleaned by the staff of the municipal bodies, so that the water can flow without any interruption. On the roads you find some manholes because regular cleaning is made. The same logic is here. Water of the houses was entering in the public drain, which was having some circular apertures, and was entering into the rivers. You can imagine 5,000 years back they are applying this logic. Even today the same logic is going on. And this public drain was having some circular apertures, which was not closed permanently. It means regular cleaning may be there, which proves that Indus people, yes, they may be having some municipal bodies, and the staff may be cleaning this drain. It means Indus people believe in health and hygiene. It clearly proves they knew that it will be challenge on their health and hygiene. It means it is an urban feature. They are having a highly scientific data system. Again, the next eye-catching point is that every house, almost every house, because some exceptions are there, almost every house was having a washroom. You can imagine even today, Government of India is promoting the message, hiring Amitabh Bachchan and Vidya Balan to promote the message. Instead of that, you should promote the IVC. If media promote this IVC, purpose may be more solved instead of hiring the film stars. If IVC people were having this 5,000 years back, it will be more hammering to the minds of Indian society today. Almost every house were having a washroom, and it proves, it means this is a really an eye opener, not for only India, different Asian countries. So it means today government can highlight this, media, electronic media, print media can publicize this. It will have a more hammering on Indian society today. Every house, almost every house was having a washroom, which again proves Indus people were very much cared about health and hygiene. And next interesting point is that every house, almost every house was having it proves water may be used in large quantity. That is why every house is having a well. Water is used only for cleaning. Almost every house was having a well. This shows Indus people were very much aware about the cleaning of the houses regarding this. And next important feature is every house was having a deep foundation and burned bricks were used. burnt bricks. It is not sun-dried bricks. So they knew the art of living. Houses were built of burnt bricks, and their shape is also uniform. This is again interesting. Only then your house will have a permanent structure. Sizes of bricks are not varying, they are uniform. It means they may be aware about mathematics. So every brick is a uniform size of bricks. It means some controlling body may be there. Otherwise, how uniformity can be achieved? Next feature of urban society is that well organized T&C. T&C means trade and commerce. This is again a feature of urban society. Your town planning is unique, your house planning is unique, sanitation system is unique. Well organized trade and commerce. How you can say it? We have found large number of weights and measures. It means it is organized. We have found large number of weights and scales. Majority of weights are having of different shapes. The heavy weights are conical. The smaller weights are cubical in shape. The smaller weights are cubical in shape. Heavy weights are conical in shape. It means they are having some control. It means some market agency may be there which may be having control over all this. Otherwise, how system is going on? So we have in our archaeologists have found large number of weights. They were made up of stones. Especially this type of stone is used. So we have found the remains of scales, that is measures and weights. Heavy weights are conical and the light weights are cubical in shape. And again, the most interesting point in the same feature is that today, today every manufacturers try to prove that the quality of the good. It means the concept of quality assurance, quality of the good. Today, if a manufacturers make a good Haldiram, Parle, so it means they put a brand on the goods manufactured by them. The same concept was there. We have found large number of seals. It means quality assurance concept is there. This is the concept of modern trade and commerce. It means manufacturers is trying to prove his quality. In remains, we have found large number of seals which were having some inscriptions. Indus people, whatever they are producing, they may be trying on the cloth and putting inscription on it. It means it is our quality. That means the concept of quality control is there, which is proved by the evidence of large number of seals. Nextly, again we have evidences. They were having trade and commerce with the contemporary civilization. They were having trade and commerce with the contemporary civilizations of Egypt. Egypt and Mesopotamia. What is Mesopotamia? Today Saddam Hussein country is called as Mesopotamia, Iraq. So we have evidences that Indus people were having T&C with the people of Egypt and Mesopotamia. How we can prove it? On the basis of exchange of seals. We have found their seals on our sites, and our seals has been found near these centers, which further prove that they are having some organized type of T&C. So everything is in the class notes. Here we are discussing the core features. It means no doubt we can say this civilization was an eye opener. First time we found a regular practice in the town planning, house planning, drainage system. Now the next feature is regarding their religion. Religion of Indus people. The religious views of Indus people. Here the point is, the main problem faced by our historian is that, their language is still today is a mystery. We don't know the language, although we have enough inscriptions of these people. But it is very unfortunate that still their language is unknown, undeciphered. If a country could be China or Japan, it could have been deciphered till now. But since it is a country like India and Pakistan, so it means we are least bothered about our legacy. So it means it is still undeciphered. It is very, very unfortunate because it required a political will. Once political will is there, everything is deciphered. So how then we are writing about them? Simply on the basis of assumption, on the basis of remains, and finally historians are making some assumptions. So now we are discussing the religious life of IVC. Automatically the sources is only remains. Our historians are trying to make some assumptions. So regarding IVC people, in the remains we have found large number of sculptures of mother goddess. Large number of sculptures of some mother goddess. Her name is unknown because inscription is undeciphered. So since in excavations we have found large number of terracotta, you know what is terracotta? Burned clay is called as terracotta. Burned clay is called as terracotta. So our archaeologists have found large number of terracotta figurines of females. And since the facial expression, how you can say she is a god or dancing girl? By facial expression, one can feel whether you are a god or goddess or you are dancing girl. Even today, by simply seeing the pictures, we can say she is Saraswati or she is some film heroine. We can simply by facial expression. Expression say we can judge it. So since these all terracotta figures are having spiritualism on their face, it means a feeling of reverence will come in your mind. If some other expression could be there, it means that feeling may not have. It means simply by expression, our historians are assuming she is a goddess or not. So their face are having some spiritualism on their, hence they are claiming that they are goddess. Not only this, on their soldiers, we are finding some blackening is there. It means some agarbatti, dhobatti, or some lightning may be there. So whatever terracotta figurines we have found, they are having spiritualism on their faces. On their soldiers we have found some blackening is seen. So some agarbatti or some lightning may be there. So largest number of sculptures are of mother goddess. Hence historians conclude that she may be the main goddess of IVC people. What was her name? We are not sure. It can be anything. That means idol worship is there. In short, we can say idol worship is there, and mother goddess was the main god of this society. Beside this, we find evidence of animal worship, water worship, tree worship. Just like today, in the Hindu religion, we find all these symbols are still going on. While Aryans were worshipping only nature, just we have discussed, because their economy was revolving around nature, cattle rearing. Indus people were agriculturists basically. Their economy was based on agriculture. Reason is that cities were located beside the rivers. That means soil is very fertile, alluvial soil. Without iron, they are having surplus economy because cities are beside the rivers. That is why agriculture is there. It means their economy is surplus. That is why cities are there. So it means idol worship, society is stabilized society. So it means we find a great evidence of the religious structures. Mother goddess, animal, water, tree worship is there. Beside this, we find evidence of some mythological characters like nursing. You know what is nursing? A face of lion and another part of human. This sculptures has also been found. It means this god may be having the value of how to remove the evil spirit. So we find that a figure having the face of lion and human has also been found. Along with this, They worship certain symbols. Even today we worship some symbols. This can become an interesting question. It can be asked by UPSC. The earliest evidence of swastik, we call this sign as, it is clockwise. The earliest evidence of swastik in Indian history is coming from which period? It is IVC or BP? Understood, answer is IVC. That means we have found, our archaeologists have found remains of certain symbols of stone basically, which are having the shape of swastik, shape of cross. It means the symbols may be having some value of to get rid of some evil spirit. And even today, when we visualize these signs for it develops some positive energy in our mind. This type of thoughts may be there. Earliest evidence of swastik is coming from which period? It is IVC. Again, the interesting point is that our archaeologists have also excavated. Even today Shiva is worshipped through the Ling and Yoni worship. We call it as a phallus worship. So, in Indus sites, our archaeologists have found cylindrical stones and some circular stones, which signifies that Indus people may be worshipping Shiva in this form also. Even today if you go to Shiva temple, you worship Shiva through this cylindrical stone. It is nicknamed as phallus worship, because we have excavated some cylindrical stones and some circular stones. So this was there, and historians presume that the earliest evidence of Shiva worship is coming from IVC people. And the other evidence is that we have found three such seal basically. Although seal were basically used in T&C. T&C means trade commerce. But some seal was having some religious significance. So we have found three such seal. Seal are mostly square in shape. We have found three such seal on which a yogi means a person is being seated in a yogi posture. Yogic means a meditation posture. A person is shown sitting in a yogic posture, you can say meditation posture, and is surrounded by certain animals like serpent, elephant, deer. And John Marshall claimed he is nothing, he is a modern type, he is a modern Shiva, and it was named as Pashupati because he is surrounded by animals. So how many seals we have found of Pashupati? There are three seals. Where a person, you can say yogi, is seated in a yogic posture, and his sitting style resembles with the modern Shiva, because Shiva is a unique god. He is entirely different from the other gods. Other god you find dressing a cosmic costume, but Shiva is just wearing a normal costume. Shiva is always shown in a very disciplined style and a very meditation style. So on the three seal we have found a person is being shown in a meditation style. He resembles the modern Shiva. The question may arise, the earliest evidence of Shiva worship comes from which period? It is IVC. The three seals are giving these evidences, and the method he is sitting resembles with the method of sitting of modern Shiva. And it was John Marshall who gave this name. John Marshall, who was John Marshall? He was DG of ASI. He nicknamed it as Pashupati, not only nickname, because everything is going in 1920s, So he explained that this god is simply the modern Shiva, and he called it as Pashupati. Pashupati is a synonym of Shiva. It means and also we at Mohenjo-daro, which is the largest city Just make in your mind, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa are the largest cities. Probably they may be the twin capitals of the civilization. Probably they may be the twin capitals. They are largest in area. First largest is this, second largest is this. Headquarters is always largest. And not only this, here at these two places, we have found certain large public buildings, means official buildings. It means the ruling class may be controlling from this place. Only at Mohenjo-daro and Harappa we find official buildings. And largest is Mohenjo-daro. It itself contains 12 letters. Automatically अपने आप largest बनेगा. Even if you are confused, you can get the answer. So which city was largest? It is Mohenjo-daro, because here we have found large number of cities. Public buildings, official buildings. Again, the interesting point is that at Mohenjo-daro we have found a great bath. Although every house is having a washroom, then why you need a bath? It means some religious significance may be there. Just like today we are having, every city person is having a washroom. Then why we are going to take a bath in Kumbh Mela on the rivers? You know, even today we go and take a bath in Godavari and this finally Ganga and Yamuna, etc. Because we believe that on certain days the rivers were having some spiritual values. Even today, you know, when Makar Sankranti comes, we go and take a bath on rivers. It means Indus people may be having some thought, yes, some belief that on certain days some spiritual energy arrives in the rivers. That is why they are taking bath. And since Mohenjo-daro is a capital, the state may have built this bath for that religious satisfaction. People may be coming here on certain days and taking a bath, just like today's modern Kumbh Mela and Makar Sankranti, you know, people go and take a bath. And why at the capital state? Because this bath is at the capital. It means it may be the liability of the state how to make arrangements. We have found also the chambers for dressing the clothes. You can imagine, society was so civilized. We have found the remains of dressing chambers to change the clothes beside the great bath, which is an urban feature. It means the earliest evidence of idol worship comes from IVC, because Vedic people were not worshipping idol, you know, they were worshipping nature.